All right, welcome back. This is going to be part 5 and the last part to this little UV mapping project. Okay, so I want to focus this last part on the ground plane here. Um, when I go into edit mode, you'll see that I just unwrapped a simple plane and I scaled it up so that it went outside the UV grid, and the effect that has is when you go outside the UV grid, the texture then automatically repeats itself and tiles. Um, and this texture did an okay job of that. My ground is super shiny, I'm realizing, as I rotate it around. So I'm going to take care of that now. I'm going to come over here and click on the material panel, scroll down and find where it says specular, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag it all the way to 0, so there is 0 shine on that there. So now it's not shiny. Okay, so the focus of this tutorial is I want to not just use one texture. I'm going to actually use 3 textures. I'm going to use this brick, this floor brick texture here. I'm going to use a dirt texture, and then I think I'll use kind of a grassy texture. And I want to show you using Pixlr Online how you can kind of put all 3 textures in here at the same time to make it more interesting. Because this is okay, but that's all that it is. It's okay. So let's see if we can make it more interesting. Sorry about that bell there. All right, so I'm in Pixlr.com, and hopefully you've watched some of my other videos so you can see how to open up the images and the basics and stuff like that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to my layer menu, and I'm going to choose Open Image as Layer. And the very first texture I'm going to bring in, I think, is going to be is my dirt texture. Okay, so there it is there. And you can see it's quite large, definitely larger than anything else. I'm going to rename my layer Dirt. And I'm going to scale it down because this texture here, this level of detail is way too big. So I'm going to do Edit, Free Transform. I'll hold down my Shift key on my keyboard so I don't distort the texture. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to kind of guesstimate here. And I'm going to go ahead and make it about that big. Okay, click outside. I'm going to say yes. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of tile this here. So I'm going to go ahead and place one there. Come over here to my layers panel, right mouse click, duplicate layer, and I'll just go ahead and tile this up. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Looks like I'll need to do that a 3rd time just to really make sure I get all of it there. And there we go. Okay, so now I've got these 3 layers here. I want to go ahead and merge these together so it's just one dirt strip. So I'm going to right mouse click, say merge down, and there's the dirt. Okay, I'll now duplicate this again, and now I have another dirt strip, and I'm just basically making sort of a dirt blanket here. Go ahead, duplicate again, and there we go. Okay, so not bad. It's not perfectly seamless, but it's not bad. Okay, I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to merge down, and merge down one more time, and there's my dirt layer. Okay, I'm now going to bring in my grass layers. So again, layer menu, open image as layer. Okay, sorry, I had to take a quick little break. Okay, so now I'm going to go find this one here, and I just brought in a sort of spotted grass texture. The reason why I chose this one here is because I don't want it to be like perfect green grass that gets watered all the time, because this is kind of a burnt out, gross looking building. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Let me rename my layer, grass. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and scale this down because that grass is way too big. Shift, drag it down, and yeah, something like that. Okay, good. Say yes. Okay, so now I'm going to do the exact same thing, and this time I'm going to cover it up. And this is where it really helps if you actually get a seamless texture, because then when you tile them up like this, you don't actually see the seams. And I'll show you a little trick that I think we can do to kind of get rid of those seams there. Okay, so again, I'm going to right mouse click, merge these down into just one strip, duplicate that grass strip, and I'll maybe offset these a little bit. Notice that the seams are not lining up perfectly, so that way There we go. Duplicate again. Something like this. Looks like I'll need a fourth one. And something like that. Okay, so that's pretty good there. And then I will go ahead and I'll merge those down so I have just one grass layer. Okay, good. I'm going to repeat this one more time now, this time with the pavement damaged. Okay. Okay, so something like that, I think. Good. Okay, so here we are here, and I think that's about right. I'm taking a little bit of a guess, and I'll call this pavement. Good. Okay, so this one's going to take a little while to duplicate. So I'm just going to go ahead and do something like this. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video because you do not need to watch this. Again, once I make an entire strip here, I'll probably merge them together just like I did. And that will allow me to duplicate this much faster. So I'm going to go ahead and merge these together, and then I'll duplicate them, and then I'll come back. Okay, we're back. Okay, so now I'd like to save this before I start doing the final step. So I did file save, and I'm going to save this as a PXD, and I'm going to call this ground, and I'm going to call this layered or layers, something like that. It just helps me identify it quicker. Say OK, and I'll save this inside my UV factory project folder. And there we go. Okay, so now comes the fun part. So we've got these 3 layers here, technically 4. I'll call this UV. Okay, so now I need to sort of poke holes through it to make the other ones show through. So this is pretty cool. I'm going to take my pavement layer, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the eraser tool. And this is where, if you have a stylus and tablet, this really helps out. I'm going to go ahead and choose my brush, and I'm going to choose a brush that has a soft feathered edge. So I'm going to choose the brushes from this second row here. And here we go. Let's see what happens. Okay, sorry, that was the last break. I needed to take a little break there. Okay, so what I want to do is I basically want to poke a hole through this pavement layer. Now, for those of you that might be a little bit more advanced, there is something down here called adding a layer mask. And that is certainly more advanced. It's a little bit more like Photoshop. I tried that out, and I'm hoping I'm missing something. And I could add to the layer mask, but I couldn't take away from the layer mask. So I'm not quite sure how that works. So I'm just going to show you another way. Okay, and if you're in my class, just forget about what I just said about layer masks. So here's how you do it. I've got my pavement layer selected. I'm simply going to come over here and click on the eraser tool. Again, I'm going to have my soft edge eraser. Maybe make my brush size a little bit bigger. To change brush size, it's the comma and period key. And so then if I just go ahead and start erasing, you'll see that I can go ahead and I'm basically erasing the pavement layer, and whatever is underneath, which is the grass layer, is poking through. So I can just go ahead and do a little bit over here. Now what I can also do is I can lower the opacity of my brush. So right now it's 100%, so it's really just poking, really poking a hole right through the pavement. I'm going to try 50%. That's pretty good, very subtle. Maybe I'll go a little lower. Yeah, so I'm just kind of breaking it up a little bit. Maybe I'll change my brush size a little bit just to get some variety in there. Again, you can have some fun with the brushes. You can click on more, and you can do things like you can load up the cracks, and you can say add, and now you've got some of these cracks in here which are pretty cool. And I can do some cracks of grass coming through here. I don't know. Just kind of dot things around. Okay, go back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe leave it at that. And then I'm going to select, I'm going to select my grass layer. And with the grass layer selected, I'm going to go ahead and erase a little bit there. It seems like the opacity slider does not seem to be working very well for the eraser. I'm not sure why. So I'm just going through here and I'm poking a little hole through the grass layer, which of course is revealing the dirt layer underneath. So you can get some pretty complex combinations here. Maybe I'll erase some more of the pavement and the grass just to reveal the dirt. There we go. And you get the idea. My stylus is accidentally moving my layers up and down, so apologize for that. Ooh, the layers is just really sensitive. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so I've got a pretty decent little bit of variety here. Let's now actually take it into Blender and see how it looks. All right, so again, I always recommend saving it as a PXD, just so that way you're covered. Place it, okay. And then one last save as a ping, so you can actually bring it into Blender. And I'm going to call this ground final. Hit OK. And there we go. Good. All right, go back to Blender. All right, so I'm going to update this texture now. So how do I do that? Because I don't honestly remember. I don't think I covered that in the last video. So I want to update this to another texture. So again, I'm going to select the object. I'm going to come over here to my texture panel, the red and white checkerboard. I'm going to come down here and right here where it says source, I'm going to click on the little folder icon, and I'm going to go ahead and find the one that I just made, which is this one right here. Do that one there. Okay. And you can see that it's repeating itself in kind of a nasty, ugly way here. Let's find out why. So I'm going to tab into edit mode, and you can see that the reason why it's repeating is because my UV is scaled up ginormously high. So I'm going to press S and scale it down. And just get it just right. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, I'll go back into object mode, see what this looks like. Not too shabby. Okay, so that looks actually pretty decent. It's kind of cool to be able to do that and put that around there. Of course, I can go ahead and I can maybe move my building around. I would need to select the pipe and the ladder at the same time. So I can move it and I can put it over here. I can maybe rotate it a little bit, you know, kind of get an idea. There you go. So you can do some pretty neat little stuff with this here. It's very simple and it's all online and free. So that's pretty cool. So I hope this made sense to you. Hit me up in the comments section if you have any questions, and I will try to get back to you and help you out. Okay, that's about that. I hope happy blending. I hope you have a good time.